Jon Radoff. I'm the CEO of Disruptor Beam, and we're talking about Game of Thrones Ascent.
Can you talk a little bit about how you worked with the creator of Game of Thrones on this project?
Sure. So the creator was George R. R. Martin, and he was actually who we started working with first. So about 3 years ago, I was introduced to George and told him about this idea of creating a game which would bring diplomacy and the politics of Westeros to life within a game, and he fell in love with the idea because we wanted to really pit people into the same kind of conflicts that he depicted in the book. So he loved it, and then we worked for a long time to come to the right arrangement with him to be able to license his intellectual property, and then the first season of the HBO series based on George's books hit, and people loved it, and then HBO got involved, and then HBO joined the agreement, and within about a year of that, we were able to finally get a game out, and it launched in February.
How did that impact once you got involved with HBO and having that television show to work with as well?
Well, I mean, it added a lot to what we were able to do because we were now working with HBO, and they had some content they were able to contribute, the sigils and things like that, but also they have an amazingly effective social presence on Facebook. So they have 5-6 million people who are fans of the show right on their fan page on Facebook. So that was a way for us to really get some of the Uber fans involved right from the get-go of the game. So we had 75,000 people on our fan page for the game even before the product launched. So HBO is really, really effective in both providing some content but also helping us harness the fan base which is out there.
Now, with the television series ongoing, how is that impacting how you guys expand the game world?
So we're doing something really unique with Game of Thrones Ascent, which is every time there's an episode that comes out, we release new content right in tandem with that. So on Sunday night, a new episode premieres. Within 12 hours of that, we're launching new quests, new items, new storylines and content that are reflective of the things you just watched in the show. So we're going to continue to do that in future seasons of the show now that season 3 has ended. And in the meantime, we're expanding the universe. We're adding our own content, our own storylines that are about you as a noble within Westeros, navigating this world of power and treachery.
You mentioned the fans already, but now that the game has been out there for a little while, what kind of impact has fan feedback had on what you guys are expanding gameplay-wise?
Well, fans are who we care about, so we took our time launching the game until we knew that we were building the right kind of game for fans. The thing for us that's been true all along is we knew that story and the dialogue and the quests that we were building into the game was something unique that hadn't really been tried before in a Facebook game or a social game. It's been done in big AAA games like Mass Effect and Knights of the Old Republic, but we wanted to bring that sort of interactive storytelling right into a game. So we were showing that to fans even before we launched it, and frankly, a lot of publishers out there were telling us that people who were playing online games would never want to read a quest, they wouldn't want to read dialogue, they wouldn't want to be involved in that stuff. So we did this sort of something that was a little bit contrary to the industry at the time, at least what publishers thought, but all along what we were hearing from fans was that fans loved it, and that allowed us to keep the faith and really just go with that vision for the product and release it. So really the kind of game that we are today, this deep immersive storytelling that we've got in there, is because of the reaction we got from fans early on, and we continue to add new content all the time. Where we're going to go with it next, because we know what our fans are telling us they want to get out of the game in the future, is even more political play, more alliances, more things where they can get big groups of their friends together and go beat up someone else in the Kingdom of Westeros and really take a side.
What do you think it is about this world that started with the books and now has had such a fan following with the television series, but also the success on this video game?
Well, I think it's a different kind of story that's been told in fantasy. So the typical fantasy trope is just the adventure story against the big bad guy. And I think what's unique and interesting about Game of Thrones is that it isn't that. There's no Sauron like there is in Lord of the Rings. There's a lot of bad guys and there's a lot of shades of gray. So it's the moral ambiguity of the characters, it's the politics, it's the structure that kind of reflects the real world. And I know in working with George on the product that he takes a lot of his inspiration from things like medieval history and the Roman Empire, Crusades and things like that. So you're starting to see some of those things that draw not just from a pure fantasy world of a fanciful evil bad guy, but all the bad people and all the bad situations that can emerge in that kind of environment. So I think people like the realism of it and the feeling that you could be a noble and you could make some of those decisions and you could have decisions that really have an impact on the world. And that's what we're trying to bring to life in the game, is that same sense of impact and kind of morally defining decisions that you're going to make along the way.